Right now at 4, road crews are getting ready for the potential of some patchy ice out here. We have Scott in here breaking everything down for us on this weather impact alert day. Plus, President Trump doubling down on his threat to Hamas to release all remaining Israeli hostages.
Covering news where you live. This is 5 News First at 4.
Thanks for joining us right here at 4. I'm Alexandra Burnley. Darren is out on assignment today. We have Chief Meteorologist Scott Covert kicking off the 4 with what is going to move in overnight.
Another round of cold rain for many of us, but a lot like last night, there will be some localized impacts. There have been some changes. Let's get straight to your weather forecast. We begin with a weather impact alert for Northwest Arkansas. This has been in effect for several days. This is round 2, and what we have new this afternoon is a winter weather advisory in effect for yet again Madison and Carroll counties. Saw a little bit of icing there last night into this morning, right? But we've also added Benton County to that winter weather advisory. Now, impacts that we are expecting, not only another thin glaze of ice due to some light freezing rain, in of itself not significant, but we also could see upwards of an inch of sleet and snow for parts of Northwest Arkansas, specifically Benton and Carroll County, overnight into tomorrow morning. Now, live radar right now, it's all quiet, not a lot going on. There's some fog out there. There's no question about that. Visibilities are greatly reduced here in Benton, Washington, Carroll, and Madison counties. A little bit of fog there in Sallisaw at the center at the airport as well. Now, temperature-wise, we're sitting largely above freezing, although in Eureka Springs, we're falling quickly down to 32. We're at 37 at Drakefield, 41 Van Buren, 40 your temperature in Waldron. In the River Valley, a cold rain for many of us with temperatures expected to stay several degrees above freezing. However, where we do find that thermometer falling at or below 32, a lot like last night, it's going to be pretty localized. We very well could see some isolated impacts for tomorrow morning into tomorrow afternoon. Now, beyond that system, the real cold Arctic blast arrives. We're talking about some single-digit wind chill values come Thursday. We'll track that. We'll also track your weekend rain chance and more coming up in that brand new 7-day forecast.
Thank you, Scott. And by the way, we have you covered around the clock over on 5 Plus for smart TVs. You can scan the QR code on your screen with your phone, and we'll show you how to download it. Well, possible icy conditions tomorrow morning that Scott just mentioned could affect your morning commute. New at 4, we're learning what criteria some rural school districts follow to make the decision about closing. 5 News reporter Rachel Williams live in Decatur right now with more. Hey, Rachel.
Hey, Alexandra. Well, first things first, safety is the district's top priority. That's what the superintendent, Dr. Steve Watkins, says. And one of the ways they decide on canceling school or not is by relying on partnerships with the police department and by tracking radars. Now, Decatur Schools is on a 4-day school schedule, so they only need 143 days of alternate student contact days, which equals out to 10,068 hours is required. State law requires 5 built-in snow days, and to determine a snow day, Dr. Watkins says their transportation department will drive along different bus routes to see if the roads are clear. If weather conditions get worse throughout the day, he says they're more likely to have an early release day.
Because we are a more rural district. If you get out toward Maysville, out toward the west of town, some steep roads, steep gradient to the roads and curves and things like that. So we want to get home before anything starts to appear on the roads.
Dr. Watkins says he aims to make a decision by 5:30 in the morning at 6 a.m. at the latest. And he said he will be keeping an eye overnight into the morning to see if they should cancel school tomorrow. But for now, I'm live in Decatur, covering news where you live. Rachel Williams, 5 News.
Thanks, Rachel. Taking a live look at the roads right now. Roads are clear, but crews from RDOT are still keeping a close eye on them.
We will have crews coming in, smaller crews tonight, probably again on Wednesday night, just to make sure, and patrolling and pre-treating if necessary, which still seems to be a low percentage of that. And if something happens where it changes quickly, we'll have to call in reinforcements. But it's a little trickier, yeah, but we always need to be prepared, and we'll have guys coming in tonight to be prepared.
We also spoke with Washington County Judge Patrick Deakins, who encourages everyone to be careful on the roads tomorrow morning.
What we're really expecting for Washington County as we move forward is there going to be slick spots. So what we're asking for people tomorrow is to really be careful when you wake up, get out on your commutes, treat it like it's icy, because what we're expecting is the ground temperatures to hold, but bridges and overpasses are going to be really icy, and so that's going to be spotty, so please watch out for that.
Judge Deacon says they will be monitoring the forecast and will be ready to send out crews if they're needed. Well, today is Safer Internet Day, and Arkansas State Police are using this time to remind parents and kids about online safety. Last year, ASP says their Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force investigated 169 cases of sextortion. That number is way up from just 16 cases in 2020. ASP says they receive around 6,000 tips every year on this issue. ASP says perpetrators scout children, then threaten to unleash private conversations or intimate pictures if their demands aren't met. Police say parents should have conversations with their kids about their online presence starting at a young age.
But they need to have a safe environment to feel comfortable to come to them and say, hey, look, Mom, Dad, I've done something really, really bad and I really need your help. And that safe environment is just that trust and that comfort that they're not going to overreact, because we don't want kids to be more scared of their parents than they are what's happening on that handheld device. And to me, that's key.
ASP says suspicious online activity or potential threats can be reported to local law enforcement or to ASP at 501-618-8001. President Donald Trump is meeting with allies from the Middle East as he says he will look for new homes for Palestinians driven out of theirs. Erica Brown has more.
President Trump is re-upping his ultimatum for Hamas to release all remaining Israeli hostages or all bets are off.
I have a Saturday deadline, and I don't think they're going to make the deadline personally. I think they want to play tough guy, but we'll see how tough they are.
Hamas has put more pressure on a fragile ceasefire, saying it will delay the next hostage release, accusing Israel of violating terms of the deal. The group says Israel is preventing Palestinian refugees from returning to northern Gaza and is continuing to block humanitarian aid. On Tuesday, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said fighting will resume if Hamas does not return hostages by Saturday afternoon. President Trump met with Jordan's King Abdullah II in the Oval Office today, continuing to press his plan to move Palestinians out of Gaza so the U.S. can take it over.
We're not going to buy anything. We're going to have it, and we're going to keep it, and we're going to make sure that there's going to be peace, and there's not going to be any problem, and nobody's going to question it. And we're going to run it very properly.
Trump wants to redevelop Gaza and turn it into what he's called the Riviera of the Middle East. The King of Jordan reacted to the president's idea Egypt and Jordan take in displaced Palestinians.
I have to look at the best interests of my country. I think the president is very happy that we do this thing with 2,000 children as quickly as possible.
Trump suggested Palestinians would not be allowed to return to Gaza after the war-torn area is rebuilt, something many in Gaza say is unacceptable and violates international law. Erica Brown, CBS News, Washington.
President Trump says other Middle Eastern countries besides Jordan and Egypt might be involved in taking Palestinian refugees. Meanwhile, President Trump signed an executive order pushing for the government and consumers to go back to buying plastic straws. It reverses a Biden-era plan to cut the reliance on plastics in the federal government. Under former President Biden's plan announced last year, the goal was to phase out the federal purchase of single-use plastics by 2027 while cutting them out altogether by 2050. In Arizona, two small jets collided at the Scottsdale airport on Monday. In addition to the one person who was killed, at least 3 others were hurt. 2 were rushed to local trauma centers in critical condition. The other was transported with non-life-threatening injuries. A 5th person was treated at the scene.
Our thoughts and prayers for the individuals on the aircraft. It's certainly a tragedy that occurred.
The plane was coming in from Austin, Texas. Preliminary flight data shows its last reported speed at around 63 miles an hour as it veered off the runway. The NTSB will study the video of the accident to try to understand what happened, but also look at the plane's maintenance records and if it has an onboard voice or data recorder.